Welcome everyone to today's CSIA Wednesday webinar series. My name is Colin Hammond and I will be your host today. From its start, CSIA was built on the principle of collaboration and with the goal to advance the industry of control system integration. In times of crisis, our members have turned to CSIA community as a trusted source for advice and inspiration. In line with this, we have begun this Wednesday webinar series. Our goal is to help our community manage, survive, and hopefully thrive from the current crisis. We plan to cover a wide range of topics on coping and or leveraging the current situation and have SIs, vendor partners, and special guests present. For those of you who are unfamiliar with CSIA, we are a global nonprofit professional association with over 500 member companies in 40 countries. Our mission is to advance the practice of control system integration to benefit our members and their clients. Our vision is to ensure that manufacturing and process industries everywhere have access to low risk, safe, and successful application of automation technology. CSIA membership offers members access to resources needed to attain and exceed business goals. To highlight just a few of our many member benefits, the CSIA Best Practices Manual guides control system integration companies in the setup and running of a solid company. CSIA's Business Insurance Program offers members an excellent insurance program for business owners, subcontractors, and more. The program includes members from all over the world enjoying the peace of mind that comes with CSIA insurance. Clients in all industries are now seeking integrators with the CSIA certification alongside ISO. They recognize CSIA certified integrators' commitment to industry standards and business acumen. As a result, being certified can shorten the sales cycle. CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange is the premier automation guide featuring system integrators and suppliers who provide industrial, manufacturing, and process automation solutions. For integrators and suppliers, it's a place to market their expertise. Clients will find white papers, case studies, capabilities, contact information, and engage in conversation directly with CSIA members. Please follow CSIA's online events calendar for all upcoming webinars, including both partner webinars and business webinars. CSIA partner webinars are opportunities given to CSIA industry partners to address hot topics and demonstrate their expertise. You won't want to miss these opportunities to learn from the comfort of your own office or home. And for more information about CSIA, please visit our website or contact us at info@staff.controlsys.org or 847-686-2245. And at this time, I would like to introduce our presenters, Greg Jackson and Stephen Rivas. Greg is the CEO and Stephen Regis is the product manager, both based out of the Win 911 headquarters in Austin, Texas. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon. Let's go. Can everybody see that?
So I think I'm still sharing. I'm going to go ahead and stop that. If you can take that over.
Okay, let's do this. All right.
There you go. Good.
Go into presentation mode. How's that? Is that full screen?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is Greg Jackson speaking, and with me is Stephen Rivas. So we appreciate your time today. A couple of things that we wanted to cover with you in terms of the agenda and the objectives. The first is to talk a little bit about some of the use cases around COVID-19 for public infrastructure and industry and how we fit into that. We also want to provide an overview of our key capabilities for those that aren't completely familiar with Win 911 and the software that we provide. talk about our new mobile application. We launched this late last year, and our timing couldn't be better with respect to being able to get remote notifications out to workforces which are dispersed, and then also we added some key new collaboration capabilities that we'll talk about, and then talk a little bit about some of the resources that are available to the systems integrator community that we work with. So we appreciate your time today. So a couple of use cases. The first three are really what we've done for 20 plus years. So Win911 is a software solution to notify remote workers or movers or workers that are on the go. So a lot of times we were implemented to take over from the night shift, right, or thinly staffed period. So we would notify a particular person. Somebody's not available, then we can escalate to somebody else. And then we provide a communications infrastructure that enables you to get a notification out through various different methods, and we're going to be talking about those today. So those were things that we've always been doing since the company started. A couple new scenarios that are the result that happened really in the beginning of March are in many cases where facilities were staffed around the clock. All of a sudden there's new restrictions that are placed on them, and they weren't, not everybody was able to get there. So another, great opportunity to take advantage of our software. And in many cases, people, we're seeing this more in the oil and gas industry in particular, and some others, where outside contractors are being brought in to augment staff for maintenance purposes or different type of pieces, so we make that happen for customers. And then if there's people that are just because they're sick, we've had a couple customers where they've had their control rooms, a couple people get infected, and they just have thinner and fewer people available, and they're going to be gone for longer periods of time. So how do they best leverage their staff? Well, if they can have them available at certain points, and then we can augment when they need to be notified of alarm conditions. It helps fill that void as well. So a number of these we've been doing all along, and a few of them are new scenarios that we're able to help customers out with. So a little bit of background in terms of Win911. We're the world leader of remote notification software. We have over 17,000, our software deployed at over 17,000 facilities, 70 countries, 6 continents. We work with any major SCADA system. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We've been a member of CSIA since 2014, so we're actually looking forward to the New Orleans conference this year. We've been there for a number of years, but I guess this is the next best thing in terms of being able to reach out virtually. And we're really founded on a principle of working with a global network of both distribution partners who sell our software and systems integrators who implement our software. So we don't have a services organization. We just have a support organization, development team, and a sales team. And our goal is to live in the ecosystem of industrial automation, and systems integrators are probably our most important asset with respect to recommending our software, implementing our software, and in many cases, supporting our software on an ongoing basis for customers around the globe. So thank you. So the challenges that we focus on are making sure alarms get delivered to the right person, beyond the control room, and around the clock 7 days a week. So those are the key pieces. In terms of results that we deliver, it's really around, the efficiency of response time for key personnel. And, that ends up in dollars around reduced downtime, operating costs, and material costs. And, I'm going to turn it over to Steven.
Sure, thanks. For those of you who are a little more unfamiliar with Win911, I wanted to provide you guys a quick overview. We're an alarm notification platform that gives you the ability to monitor the alarms in your SCADA system and then send them out to various operators so they can take action and respond to those conditions. So there are 3 major components to Win911. There's a data source, and that is the component that is going to talk to your SCADA system and get the alarms out of it. Then there's the dispatcher, which is our logic engine, our escalation engine, which is going to handle all the routing of those alarms to the right person. And then we have the actual notifier pieces, and these notifiers is the piece that will send the alarm to that operator. And of those, we have several different types, and I'll go over those in a little more detail later. But primary ones are our web app, texting, through phone calls, our announcer, which will verbalize alarms through your speakers or your computer, and then email as well. So I'll go on to the next slide. Now, of those data sources, we tie into some of the leaders in the industrial automation market. Aviva products, that system platform, InTouch, Aviva Edge, GE Digital iFix and Simplicity, and Rockwell Automation's Factory Talk Alarm and Events. So the advantage of connecting directly into the system with our native connections is that you're able to receive alarms dynamically. So you're not having to duplicate your efforts. Whereas you would create your alarms in your SCADA system and then recreate them in Win91, we're able to just pull them directly out of those systems to save you time when setting up Win91. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in this next slide, Greg. And the way we do that is we're able to subscribe to alarms in real time. We do this with what we call alarm subscriptions. So alarms occur in your SCADA system, and we attach to those alarms, and you set up these filters on certain properties of those alarms. This is a screenshot you're seeing is one from Factory Talk Alarm and Events. It's going to vary from SCADA system to SCADA system. But what this allows you to do is say when an alarm occurs, you evaluate it across these subscriptions that you create. If it matches that subscription, then it will dynamically be pulled into our platform. If it doesn't match, then we'll ignore it. What this gives you the ability to do is dynamically subscribe to new events, and also as you remove events from your remove alarms from your SCADA system, that will also just automatically remove them out of Win91. So this really minimizes the impact of maintenance on your system when you're adding or removing alarms from your SCADA system. Once you have those alarms pulled in and you have your subscription set up, then what we're going to do is take those alarms and send it over to our dispatcher. And the dispatcher allows you to escalate alarms in two different ways. We have basic escalation and advanced escalation. First, I'm going to talk about basic escalation, which is what you're seeing here on the screen. These are simple call out lists. A simple call out list means you're going to put people in the order that you want them to be notified. We give you a few options for delays between connections, before connections, but more or less what you're doing here is you've got one single queue that you're going to pass everybody through. An alarm occurs, you notify the first person in the list. If they don't respond within some time that you specify, then you'll move on to the next person. And it can continue, you can loop this over. This is very basic escalation path for getting these alarms out to your operators. And if you want more flexibility than just a simple call out list, we have advanced notification workflows. And what this will allow you to do is consider certain alarm properties and then route your escalation depending on that. In this screenshot that you're seeing here, we can check things like, does this alarm belong to the water treatment plant storage tank alarms? If so, let's check its severity. If it's a high severity, let's notify your operators right away, and so that we're getting those alarms in their hands immediately. If it's lower severity, then we can maybe put in a delay of 10 minutes, give that condition some time to clear. If it does clear, we could just stop notifying. But if it doesn't clear, then we'll go ahead and notify the operators and they can address the problem. There are quite a few more ways you can do advanced escalation, and we have other webinars up on our website that goes in much more detail as to what you can do with this advanced escalation. This is just one example here. Another part of escalation is going to be scheduling. So what we just talked about there is just who's going to be notified in what order. What you can also do is set schedules for different operators. For example, if you have an alarm, if you have an operator that's on site from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can create that schedule and assign it to them. So if an alarm is going to occur, and during that time period, it will send that notification to him. If it occurs outside that time period, then you can notify somebody else, or maybe nobody gets notified. It really just depends on how you want to do it. It's very similar. Setting up these schedules is very similar to setting up any Outlook calendar or Google Calendar. So if you're familiar with those tools, then this should be a breeze for you to set up. You can create shift schedules as well. So if you have a day shift and a night shift, you can use those and assign those to particular operators to make sure you're sending the right notification to the right person. You can also use these schedules in that advanced escalation that we saw in the previous slide. So you can check things like, if alarm occurs at this particular time, notify this group of people. If it occurs at some other other time, go ahead and notify a totally different group of people. So there's a lot of flexibility with your schedules as well. Then once you've escalated your alarms, so you've got your data source, you've pulled your alarms in with those subscriptions, you've sent it through the dispatcher, which is where you're escalating the alarms, then you can send it over to your notifiers. And the notifier's job is to actually send the notification to the operator. So the first one here is the Win911 mobile app, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. This is an iOS app or Android app that runs on either one of those devices, tablets or phones. We're using Azure as a middleman to secure all your connections between your plant and your mobile device. So you don't need to set up any intrusive firewall exceptions or anything like that to make that happen. So again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And then we have texting. So if you want to send traditional text messages, we use cellular modems to make that happen. So an alarm occurs, we send it through a cell modem that's separate from your internet connection. So these cell modems can continue to work even if the internet connection at your plant has failed, because it does go through cell towers, and it's just a simple text message as you see in the screenshot there. You can also make phone calls through voice over IP systems or your analog phone lines using a Grandstream device that serves as a PBX. Win911 can connect to your existing VoIP system. So for example, if you have a Cisco system at your plant, we can tie in as a soft phone and make calls over that system. Or if you don't have one and you want to use a third-party cloud system, we can connect to that as well. And if you have the analog lines, that Grandstream device, the way it works is you connect to it as a VoIP connection, and that Grandstream device has analog lines that you plug into the back of it. So you can continue to use those analog lines, but Win911 connects to it as if it was a VoIP connection. And then the last one is email. Email is sending emails through your email server. So SMTP connection for outbound, and for inbound messages, you can do POP or IMAP. So all of these notification methods are two-way, which means if I send a notification out, you can reply to it and acknowledge the alarm. You can also request alarms or request reports. And you can use more than one notification at a time. In fact, we encourage you to do so. If one notification method were to fail, then you can always fall back on another notification type, just in case, for example, if you're sending text messages, maybe the cell modem fails, and then you can make a phone call out to somebody over the analog lines. Again, we always recommend that you do that just in case something were to happen, because you never know. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more. Oh, I guess I'll get the order wrong here to talk about the announcer. The announcer is that text-to-speech an engine announcer tool that I was just talking about. What it does is it ties into your Win911 system, and as alarms occur, it will just announce them over the speaker. It's a network tool, so you can run this from anywhere within your plant as long as it has network access to your Win911 system. So you start it up, you point it at your Win911 system. As alarms occur in real time, we're going to announce them over the speakers plugged into that computer. Now, those speakers they could just be speakers that are right there on the desk in the operator room. You can redirect them to a PA system, so you can play them very loudly on a plant floor. Or what a lot of users do is plug it into their radio system, so that when alarms occur, it'll blast it out to all the users on the radio system. Again, this is a network tool, so you can put different announcer tools throughout your facility so that they're only announcing the alarms in that particular area of the plant that are relevant to that area. So you can have multiple of these running at a time. We also have different tools in here to make it say exactly what you want. So many times when you configure alarms in your system, the descriptions you have will not play very well through a text-to-speech engine. So we have this say as tab so that you can type in some original text, match what you have there, and then convert it into some other text. And this way you're not having to go through every alarm and changing your description for every single alarm. You can just do it one time on this tab and save it. And you can export this and import it on the different announcers if you are running multiple versions or multiple instances of it. So talk more about the smartphone apps. So as Greg mentioned, we did release this earlier or last year around October. And this is a great advancement over the last mobile apps that we had. A couple of key features of it is you can connect to multiple sites with it. So if you have multiple Win91 systems, you can have one app and connect to multiple Win91 systems. It doesn't matter where they're located, as long as they have internet access, you'll be able to monitor them from your one app on your phone. We also have support for what we call do not disturb mode. So we've heard from a lot of our end users that they want to be able to suspend notifications for whatever reason. Maybe they're going to take a day off from work. Maybe they're going into a meeting and they need to suspend notifications. You can go into the app and set a Win91 to stop sending you notifications for some period of time. Now you always have to set when the notifications will resume, so you can't permanently disable notifications. It's also incredibly easy to deploy Win91 Mobile. As I said, Azure is it's the middleman between, this Azure web app is the middleman between your Win91 system and the mobile app. And the way it's architected is that all your connections are outbound initiated. And because of that, you don't need to make intrusive firewall changes or do any kind of inbound port forwarding, anything like that. As long as you can open, typically, I would say, as long as you can go to a website on the machine that you're running Win91 on, then you'll be able to use the Win91 mobile app. And if you don't have internet access on that machine, then I won't call it a workaround, there's a solution to that as well. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. A couple other key features. The way it works is that when an alarm occurs, we're going to send you a push notification, and that's going to pop up in a banner similar to a text message or any kind of notification on your mobile device that you may be used to. You can acknowledge these alarms from those push notifications too. So you can see in the screenshot there's an ACK option. So you can ACK it directly from a push notification. Of course, you have to be, the user that you are configured as has to have permission to do that. So the push notifications are going to show you new alarm messages. They're going to show you chat messages. Go ahead and I guess show the next screenshot here, Greg. The chat is a collaborative chat feature where you can talk to the other users or the other operators who have received the alarm. And so this is a collaborative chat that you can talk to them to work through a problem or just generally talk about what's going on. We also have a team reports feature, which allows you to view a real-time alarm information or data values. So if you have an alarm that's gone off, you can go to your report section, request one of these reports, which will grab the real-time values of those tags that you have configured in it and show you that information. So it can help you troubleshoot a problem that you're working on. These can also be scheduled to be sent out to you with alarm information. You don't always have to go manually request them. They can automatically be sent to you. And then the last feature I'll cover here is team visibility. What this does is it will show you who the alarm has been sent to and whether they've seen it. You can also see if they're on do not disturb mode, which is indicated by that bell with the line or that icon with the bell with the line through it. So if that is showing up, you know they're in do not disturb mode and they're not going to see that particular alarm. There's no screenshot of this, but you can tap on these things and you can actually see exactly when the alarm was sent to them and what time they viewed the alarm as well. So I want to talk more about network architecture. So I mentioned if you do have internet connectivity on the machine you're running Win91 on, then things are going to most likely work for you. And there are many cases where, and honestly the way it should be, where you're running Win91 on your level 2 or level 3 layer of your network, that you don't have internet connectivity. And if that is the case, we have developed a Win91 mobile hub, and this is serves as a proxy between Win911 and the internet. So you can run this application on another layer like your business network or DMZ. And Win911, it redirects its traffic to this hub, and then the hub will connect out to Azure for you. So you're not opening direct access to the internet from your level 2 or level 3 networks. So this is included with Win91. It's not an extra cost or anything like that. But just to talk a little bit more about through the process here, when an alarm occurs or when Win91 Mobile starts up, it's going to connect to our Win91 Mobile web app, or it's indicated as API here, and register with it. So anytime an alarm occurs, it sends it to that web app, and then any of the phones that you've configured in your configuration will receive those notifications as soon as they occur. It's very quick. It's very easy to set up. And again, for something like this, we have more webinars on our website to talk about the steps to set this up, and you'll see that it's a very simple process to get it going. And then go on to the next slide. Deployment is really quick. I mean, it just takes about a day or so, maybe a little less than that, to set up Win91. That is the key piece of the native direct connects that we have with our data sources. When you install Win91, it is very easy to connect it into those SCADA systems and start pulling those alarms directly into Win91. That's usually the most difficult part with existing deployments, is trying to get that information in there. These native direct connects that we've partnered with these SCADA manufacturers make it very easy to do. So you just typically, in most cases, you point it to the application, set up those filters that I was talking about, those alarm filters, and then start filtering them in to Win91. Most likely, you're going to spend more time corralling your operators and getting their information to put into the system than you are going to be integrating it into your SCADA systems. So it's a small investment to quickly enable remote monitoring of assets. Again, it's just a day or two. It really just depends. It depends on the system that you're going to set it up on. You got to, of course, set it up, test it, and then train the operators how to use it. We try to make everything as intuitive as possible for the operator's perspective, and the mobile app does certainly do that. And you don't even need to be on site for many of the notifiers that we support. So we're trying to move more and more toward internet facing notification methods, so you don't have to physically be there to connect hardware to the system. And again, the mobile app allows you to do that. And if you'd like to find more resources, like I mentioned, a few of those webinars, they are on our website, win91.com. So if you navigate over to win91.com, go to the resources tab, and you're going to find all this information. We've got things like install checklists to make the installation as smooth as possible. We've got tech documents to walk you through certain aspects to more advanced topics. And we've got a lot of videos to walk you through various different things there. So if there's anything you need, you can likely find it there. And if you can't find it, just let us know, and we'll be happy to make it available to you.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, we did a survey about 18 months ago in terms of how systems integrators wanted to access materials, and it was almost 50-50, right? Half the people wanted to watch a video and half the people wanted to read the documentation. So we support both, and our website's a great a resource to go and figure out what's going on. So with that, I think we can open it up to some Q&A, Colin.
Sure thing. Thank you, gentlemen. So let me see if we have any come in here. So we're just waiting on any Q&A. If anyone has any jump up, please put it into the Q&A and we will answer that for you. All right, we have one. Do you have a program for system integrators?
We do, actually. We've had one for a number of years. And so, you know, our philosophy has always been, you know, how do we enable those that are out dealing with our customers on a daily basis and are the real experts in terms of automation systems. And so we have a simple sign-up form that's available on our website. And what we provide is software so that the implementers can get comfortable with it. So we have that available to our systems integration partners. We promote and list them on our website, you know, with their contact information as well. And then we also give our integrator community access to, you know, our technical support team. So, and a lot of the resources that you saw available here on this previous screen. So we have about around the globe, I think it's in the neighborhood of a little over 1,000 systems integrator partners. Some are more active than others. And we're happy to have them and thankful that we do, because they serve a critical role in terms of the deployment of our systems. And increasingly in certain sectors like the water wastewater market, for example, a lot of times they don't necessarily have all the resources available to have a control engineering or an automation team. And so oftentimes the systems integrator not only implements the system, but is also responsible for the care and feeding of it. And we see some of that in some other sectors as well, like life sciences, where there's embedded engineers, and they, you know, from various, you know, CSIA and other partners around the globe, they just kind of take care of those systems for them. So it's really a critical aspect for us, and we try to make it easy for systems integrators to access not only our tools, but also our support team, so that they can make customers successful out there.
All right, thank you, Greg. We have another one that came in. How does a software company become certified compatible with Win 911?
So we don't actually have a certification program for our systems integrators. Now, I'm not sure if this is referring to an automation platform or if it's referring to it. I'm assuming it's more on the integrator side, but you know, we do get this question occasionally. You know, what we find is that working, so it is for an automation platform. Thanks, Dave. There we go. So we actually approach the vendors like the Rockwells, the Avivas. We have ongoing discussions with some of the other ones, and we try to join a partnership, and they give us access to their alarm and event servers. So we have relationships in place today with GE, with the Aviva / Wonderware, you know, product set, and then also with the GE. So, and then they give us the proprietary tools, and we collectively, you know, work to build the integration to those platforms. Where those aren't available, then we have an OPC connection. Today it's OPC DA. We're in the investigative phases of supporting OPC UA for alarms and conditions. Not many vendors support that yet. But we're going to make that available probably early next year in terms of being able to support that as well.
Okay, thank you, Greg. How can your software be deployed when the customer has very restrictive security practices?
Well, you know, that depends on the particular piece of software that you're talking about. When it comes to mobile, we went through the trouble of before we wrote any code to validate the architecture that we have designed with many of our bigger customers that have dedicated cybersecurity teams. And that's where the things I was mentioning before, that outbound initiation or outbound initiated network connections come into play. The mobile hub, that gives you that extra layer of security from or separation from the internet so that you can deploy a network facing notification method without really worrying about infiltration from allowing that network access on the, again, the layer 2, layer 3 layers of your network. Beyond that, everything in Win91 is secure. All the communications is secured with Windows authentication. So the only way you can get into your Win91 system is to have valid user name and credentials to change the configuration. The email server, you have to have a valid email server. All that's in your control. So that's really not too much of a concern. All the users that you define in your system, when you define them, you give them the permission to acknowledge alarms. If you don't want them to acknowledge alarms, you don't enable it. As soon as you delete someone from your system, they're immediately removed from it so they can no longer access your alarm or report information, so that everything's updated in real time and immediately, so that those things aren't too much of a concern.
Thank you, Stephen. Another one, I am familiar with your original Pro product. What do you provide to help customers migrate to your new product?
So we went ahead and built a migration tool, an import wizard that will take your existing configuration from our older Win91 system, version 7 Pro, Basic, or Lite, as you may know it. And it takes those configurations and converts them into our new platform so that you don't have to do as much configuration. Now, it's not a one-to-one configuration or migration. So there are some things you'll need to do to clean up a few things, but it does take the effort of not doing the mass editing from your existing configuration to the new one. So it does save you some time to move or to migrate from the older system to the new system. And that is included with all licenses. So that's not something that you have to pay extra for. If you have a Win91 license, you can use that utility free of charge.
Thank you, Stephen. So we're just going to give it another minute here, see if any more Q&A come in. All right, if that's all that we're going to have, I would like to thank everyone on behalf of CSIA. I would like to thank Stephen and Greg for this informative discussion, and I'd like to thank all of those attending. When you close out, there will be a little link that'll pop up for a brief eval. If you could fill that out, we would greatly appreciate it. We'd also like to remind you that a recording of this webinar will be available for viewing in a couple of days, and I will send that out. Please visit the CSIA website to view this recording or a past webinar you may have missed. And that concludes our program for today. Once again, thank you for joining us, and have a good day, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.